you know, October 7th now a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So what got you into, you know, obviously Jewish heritage, right? But what got you into following that situation, and what
Yeah,
are your thoughts on how it's evolved since then,
right,
and really
right.
even leading up to then? Because a lot of people like, well, Israel's just striking back, you
Colonial
know.
states, you
Yeah.
know.
And to me, like, really at the base level, it's like, can you defend your property, right? That's who really owns it at the end of the day, right? And I mean, that's not the most diplomatic answer, but at the end of the day, if you can't defend that property, is it really yours?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
And then we also talked about it from a perspective of Nixon, which again I don't hear about this in any of like the mainstream media or even like the Tucker Carlson's, Barry Weiss's independent news organizations now. Where Ted Koppel, I think he was CBS news correspondent. He could have been ABC,
I
but
think
I
he
want
was
to say
ABC. I'm not
okay.
sure.
Um,
Oh,
but he was interviewing Nixon. I think one of, if not Nixon's last interview back in 1992. And Nixon kind of spoke out of turn where he was talking about Israel being a nuclear power. And I feel like that's still not even discussed as like part of the equation
Mm-hmm.
for why they're an ally of ours. And, you know, even outside of them being a nuclear power, you know, there's, you know, I think something to be said about
Well,
being a relatively good steward of capital. And I talked about some them being a democracy where I don't think I don't agree with the mandated military service. You know, I do like the idea, at least in the United States, maybe not mandatory military service, but some sort of mandatory public service,
mm-hmm.
whether it's done in the military or you
or
sign
in
up to be a
social.
public school teacher for 2 years or
Mm-hmm.
4 years or whatever. But
Okay.
anyway, that's
Yeah.
the,
Well, I
the tangent.
think to take a deep breath, I think you cover a wide swath in your comments, most of which I don't agree.
Okay.
Um, you say, well, to defend your land. This land has belonged to the Jews for a couple of thousand years. The only reason we've ever left the land is because we've lost a couple of wars along the way. I do not recognize Gaza. I don't recognize the West Bank. For me, it's Judea and Samaria. I don't recognize the Golan Heights. I recognize the Golan. I think it's Mount Hermon, which belongs to us, that Israel's not giving back. I want sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. I want Gaza neutralized once and for all. That's very militant, and if you want to call me a colonial power, you can. But as far as I'm concerned, it's my nation, my land, and I could say, like many other people, Am Israel Hai. You know, Israel's freedom is critical. When you say military service, nothing is more painful than losing a son or a daughter fighting a war for your country. But nothing is more important to an Israel or to an Israeli your age or whatever in doing anything else except defending the land. When I was there in the early 70s, I used to hitchhike. It comes up often, as much as my spirituality does probably, because I spent a lot of time, sometimes in the front and sometimes in the back in the cold weather. And you're sitting there and waiting to get off because the truck is just freezing in the back because you got no heat, but it's taking you another 100 miles down the road. But what I always noticed, which was very important, is if you were getting a lift by a woman or a man, if they saw an Israeli soldier on the side of the road, they'd pull over, they'd tell you to get out, and that's right, and the soldier got in. If there was room for you, you're lucky. If
Yep.
not, you waited for your next lift. If there was room for you, the better seat was given to warm up for the Israeli soldier who was probably standing out there maybe anywhere between 3 minutes and 20 minutes, but no more because soldiers get picked up right away.
Yep.
And you sat in the open back of the truck. That's the Israel that I know. The Israeli I know that you're on a bus and everybody's screaming at each other, and at the bottom of a sudden you hear the word "Hadashot," which means the news. Everybody shuts up. Okay? I don't know if that still exists. I would think, why not? And you're pulling out memories from me from 50 years ago of, but these are the feelings and the relationship that you develop in Israel when you go there, when you go to the Kinneret, which is a body of water in the Galilee, when you go to any of the historic sites, when you're down in Eilat, if you're in Beersheba, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, these are all Haifa. These are all Israel. This is Israel, and they're building everywhere in Israel.
Yep.
Okay. Now, yeah, it's your obligation. You do IDF service. That's why when they're out, they travel Israelis. They've paid a heavy price of supporting the country and doing their responsibility and watching brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts and parents
Yep.
die for our freedom. But how much is enough is enough? Okay, I'll tell you how much enough is enough.